here is today our agenda is to see what is the Django setup and how to create own apps and going to Django and how to import the templates. So this is the first step. Now, if you observe, first we need to say pip install Django. So it is already I have installed. You can use this command and you can. So once you install, like pip install Django is done. So now we need to go to. So now these installations will be done. So now we will observe a small. So if I say this, so it will tell you it is already installed. Please check because this is already installed in my system. So you observe here. So it is saying already satisfied because it is already present. It is already present in the system. Okay. So now, in order to start the server, okay, what is our command is Python manage py run server. So how we will start the server is Python. So once so before doing this, what we need to do is we need to create our own website. So if you go here, Django documentation, you have a clear documentation where you can, once you have installed, where it will tell you how to create this and how to manage all these things. So now what we are going to see is we will create our own rather than the specified one here. So if you see here, so once the installation is done, we will. So now if you see here, here we will have a command. We will have a command to create our site, our own site. First, initially, to create our own site, we will have a command. So now, what is that command? Is that we need to see. So how we will create this site is the first question. So now you need to create your own site. Okay. So now if you observe, we are going to create our own site. Okay. So first of all, we will create our own site. One second. Here. You can't see any option to. Yeah. So now, in order to do this, we need to have, in order to create a site, we will go and run the command called first. What we have run the command in order to create our first website. So there are no projects. So now, in order to create a project, in order to create a project, what we will say is Django, okay, minus admin, okay, minus admin start project. What is that? Start project my site. So if you give this, it will create a project. So now rather than that, what we will do, we will create one more website. So how we will create? So now in order to do that, what we will say, what we need to say, Django. We will create one more and Django minus admin start project. So rather than my site, we will say our site or demo website. So it is creating. a demo website. So it has been created a demo website. So like that, we have created our own website, our own my site. So we will work on my site. Parallelly, I will show you another website how it is created. Okay. So now, if you go and see here inside the demo website. What and all we will have? So we will have a managed UI. We have a demo website where we have URLs where we need to specify, and all the settings will be in settings.py. So if you observe here, all py files are there, all the Python files are there here. So we will work on this files. So now, in order to work on this now, rather than a demo website, in the same way we have my site also. So my site, I have a lot of things here. I have done a lot of things here. So that's why. We will see. So rather than that, if you go and observe, what we'll have, we will have only managed UI. We have managed UI and our my site. So again, in my site, what we have same. We will not have anything. So now, what we will do, like in order to load this into a web browser, what we will do, we will use the Visual Code Studio. We will use the Visual Code Studio Code. Okay, Visual Studio Code. Now this here we will open our my site. So if here we have open our my site. Inside of my site, we will have these things we saw. Now inside the demo we saw URL py settings.py. So in settings.py, what we will have? We will have templates. Okay, we will have the databases where we want to join. Like by default, SQL Lite is there. We want to join to PostgreSQL. We'll say PostgreSQL, and we will specify the PostgreSQL username and password that we'll see next class. So and like we can see all these things. What all the time zones are there? What is the static URLs are there? I have a static images. I have specified this. I will show you that. So now, static images are there. That static images I want to find out. So that particular static images files are loaded there. So that I will show you later on. Once we are seeing a template input. Once we are seeing a template input. Now, if you observe here, other than this, what is the thing we need to observe here is observe here here we have this website. Now, I want to load this website into our where I want to load this website into our browser. Now, if I say this by defaultly, the only this will be there. So, shall we open our demo website URL and see what will be there? So, it is my site. So, what we will do, we'll go for our demo website. If we will say demo website, in this we will ask it to open with Notepad++. So, what we have is a simple demo website. That's it. So we have admin slash admin site dot URL. So is this what we have here? Yes. Admin slash admin. The same thing we have here. So now we want to load that. So how where we will load that? Before to load that, we need to start the server. So how we are starting a server? Python. So how we will start the server? How we will start the server? Starting a server. So yeah. How we will start a server? We'll say Python. Again, we need to go to command prompt and start. Okay. So we'll use CLI command because this is only in Windows. Again, so now Python. What we need to say? Manage PY. Manage PY was outside the project. So manage PY was outside the project. So not inside the project, outside the manage. So inside the manage PY, we will say run server. So when we say run server, it will start the server like this. To start the server like this, and it will say where is the port by default port is 8000. So 127.0.0.1.8000. So now we will go and hit 127.0.0.1.8000. Okay, 1 minute. What we are seeing is this one. Give me 1 second. I will load the page. I will load the by default page so that we can understand how it is coming. So this is there. So let it inside my site. when I say Pi server, it is starting and it's loading the terminal, but it is not loading by default. This one run the server by default it is not loading. We have configured already this demo one, so that's why it is taking the demo one. This is our my side. Yes, this is our my side. That is what we are by default okay. So we are not going to bother about, like, just if you say what happens, it will load the page basically like this one. Okay, like this one. It is not it will give you nothing. It will give you a Django page. So we have not done anything. We have started the server and we are good. Now, what we want to see is actually we want to see is that we want to build our own app. We want to build our own app. Like, this is a project, and I will have a number of apps. Let us consider I will have a demo. I will have a calculate. I will have a calculate function. I will have a calculate function. Calculate. I want to calculate something. I have to calculate two numbers. That is the app. So that is a calculator. Let us consider. So now we want to build an app. So if I want to build an app, so how I will build the app? So is my first question. How I will build my app is my first question. Now how I will build my app? Um, so now how I will build my app is the first question we need to see. Is the project how I will build. Okay. So now we will see how we will build our own app. Okay. Our own app. So we will say here we have a PowerShell command because we have already our command, our own command. Now what we will say? We will say Python manage. So we need to install this one and we need to set by this one. So we will say start app. Start app. What we will say? We will say demo one. We have already a demo. So what will happen? A demo one will be created automatically. So if you see here, the demo one is automatically created. Again, this demo one will have all the admin.py, apps.py, models.py, where you will specify your own classes here, model classes. So okay, model classes, and this will be a test.py and this will be view. But if you observe here, what is the difference between our my site and this one is we will not have url.py, urls.py. So we need to write our own urls.py. Okay, we need to define the urls.py. So now, rather than going to demo one, we will have demo itself. So that I will show you. This is already pre-configured. I will explain you what and all is. So let us consider I manually added this one and I have imported. I want to add that URLs and I want to add a URL. Like, what is this URL? This URL pattern will tell you to load, not to load. Okay. If you have another project, we say by default which page to load, each module to load. You need to specify. I will not specify any module. I will say to load home page. So I can say index.html or home.html, anything. So to do that, what we need to do, we can have homepage.html, homepage.html in that. What will we do? So now, if you observe here, now in views.py, we need to specify a function. So saying that in home, what we need to do? In home, I need to return something. What I need to return? So if you observe here, request is again a whatever the request comes from the server, whatever the request comes from the server. So it will load this file and it will return you a hello world. It will return you a hello world. I don't want HTML tag now. I will tell you HTML, what is the use of HTML tag and how I will need to define create it dynamically. So now I want to load just a hello world, just a hello world and hello world, and say I will say in demo. I'm in demo. So now, in order to do this, once you specify a URL and you have specified views.home and name is equal to home, you said it. And in that, for that home, we have defined a function called home in views page. We are not writing any HTML as of now. We are not writing any HTML as of now. We are going to create a home function, which is a Python function, which will take an argument called request. Okay, if you see, observe here, all Python code only. Whatever we have learned earlier, all same Python code only we are writing. So now, once this is done, what we need to do? We need to configure that URL. We need to say to load that demo.url. We need to say to load by default a demo.urls using the include demo.urls. Include demo.urls apps, that particular apps. If I have another app, I will say that particular app. So like that, I will say, keep on saying, if I have whatever the page I want to load first, I will say that. Okay, I will say. So now, if you go and observe here, rather than this, what we will get. Right now, where we have there. What we will do? We will start the server once again. Rather than having this restarted, we will start our server again. Now, how we will start the server? I already told you. Python manage py. What we said?
We need to go to that path, I guess, right?
Yes. We need to go to that particular website. Very good. So move to that particular website, my site. And we'll say manage.py. So let's get started. Started at that particular website. Now, yes, if you observe here, hello world, I am in demo. I am in demo. So basically, nothing we have done. Nothing we have done. What we have done? We have created a project. A project inside a project. So I will show you again whatever we have done. What we have done? Basically, we have created a project. What is that? We have created a my site project. Inside a my site project, we have created an app. What is that app? That is nothing but a demo. Inside demo, what we have done? We have written a Python function. Python function. Okay? This Python function just to be loaded into a page. Okay. So now I don't want a text here. I want a HTML text. I want a HTML text. So what should I do? What should I do in order to display a HTML text? So now I will go to URLs. So not URL, sorry. View inside this. Rather than just a text, I need to write a HTML code. So I can write a HTML H1. I'll say what is the slash h1, or I can say what is the
Bold.
I think Jyoti and all will write in HTML very well because
Yes,
they
sir.
are they are learning the Angular and all. They are coding Angular and all. Ravindra and Jyoti, so they can write things very well stuff here. So once we write this, did we save that first? Yes, I have saved it. So what we will go? We will go and we will refresh. What is happening? So some error is there. What is happening? Sometimes okay. So took time to load. Took time to load. So hello world, I am in the same. But we are hard coding the text. But we are hard coding the text. Manually we are writing the text. But I don't want that. But I want from an HTML page to be loaded. How I will load that? So if you see here this HTTP response again, in order to write this text also, we need to have a HTTP text where this HTTP text will come from. HTTP response will come from. This will come from the Django HTTP. We need to know all this comes to a practice. Okay, all this comes to a practice. It will not come in day one or in the single shot we see here. It comes on hand like once you touch the hands, so it will come. So my point is Django HTTP import HTTP response. This particular HTTP will response will be able to send the response to server. Will be able to send the response to server. So what is HTTP response? What is HTTP request? Do you people know? Is my question. First question. Do you people know? How many people know? Please be frank. What is HTTP response? What is HTTP request? First of all, what is
So,
HTTP? Pardon, no.
so I was saying HTTP request.
Hmm. A request is nothing but a HTTP
The
request.
servers, I
Request is nothing but a HTTP request. Response is nothing but a HTTP response which we are sending. So now it's like what do you say? Client. To send a response to client, we need HTTP. Okay. So now what is this HTTP? HTTP is a protocol. It is a protocol between an application and your client. So now, how we are talking to each other? There is a protocol. There is a protocol. Protocol means a language. A language you are able to understand. What you are unable to understand? English. You and me will talk in English, or you and someone will talk in Kannada. You and some other people will talk in Tamil. You and some other people will talk in Telugu. You and some other people will talk in Malayalam. So like that, the language between a browser and a web application is nothing but HTTP. HTTP. If I am wrong, Jyoti and Raghavendra can correct. Okay. So the up to my understanding, that is a language you are specifying was this is a HTTP language communicate to the server which is running on the port called 8000. So by default you are running rather than running here manually. What you can say run server, and you can specify the port number also explicitly. You can specify a port number. It will end in 10 minutes. You may need to return again. Okay. So now I will tell you when it's the last minute. Okay. So now it is a language between a client and what is our client? Client is nothing but a browser. Client is nothing but a browser. So what it will understand? Again, it will understand HTTP response only. You are sending a request, that is HTTP request by default. Request pass is available. You know that. Okay. Sorry. So now, if we are seeing, now we are going to see HTTP response. We are sending back to client. So that's why automatically it is catching and it is displaying the data. It is displaying the data. This is the story of HTTP. Why HTTP response? Why only HTTP response? Because and my client will understand. Client, what? Who is client? Web browser here. Web browser. Browser is a client for us. Rather than saying a browser, we will say client. What is the client request? Client request is the HTTP request. What is the client response? HTTP response. It is a communication language between the client and the application. Client and the server. Client and a server. Okay, right. Client and a server. You are running a server, application server. So now you know what is the server, application server. Django, or we can run a Flask tomorrow. There are other frameworks. Django is a framework. Django is a framework. They have a framework. So you need to understand that framework. That is a huge framework. Okay, it depends on your understanding. So simple. So how quickly you created? We will review. We will review the steps. We will review the steps. So how we will create a project? How we will create a project? Shall we create another project? Shall we create another project here? How will you create another project? So once you install, first of all, you will install, quick install Django. Once you install, so you will go to your command prompt. You will go to your command prompt. Okay. Okay. We will go to your command prompt. What we need to say? How we will create a project? Django admin. Okay. Start project. Start project. What is the project name? Demo project. Or my project, I will say. I have written my side. So I will say my project. So it will take time and it will create the project. So now inside the project you will have everything. You will create. So now we will go here and we will see my project has been created. Inside that PY is which will help us to run the start the server. Django server. So now inside the my project we will have URLs and all. Where in this URL we will configure our URLs. Where in this okay. This is the project. From the project, inside the project, from inside the project, what we will do? What we can do? We will create a, now we will go inside my project. Okay, so we will go inside my project. Okay, inside my project. Okay. Inside my project, I want to create a, what do you want to create? A app. A app. So Python, what is that? Manage.py. What we'll say? We'll say my project
Start,
app. Right? My project app.
start app, better one.
Pardon? Pardon?
Start app.
Okay. No, no, no. First of all, okay. Start up. No? Okay. This is the start up. Okay. Thanks, sir. Start app. My project. Or my app. Inside that, my app.
I think we need this one. Manage.py.
No,
Python manage.
how we have created an app? How we have created an app? This is a server. How we have created an app? We'll see here. We have created start app, manage py, start app. So I was writing correct. In between, Mona has made me to say okay now. Okay, no problem. Yeah. So start up Maya. So if we go and create, see inside that already my app also will be created. So if you see my app, like that, n number of apps can be created. Like that, n number of modules can be created in a project. In a project, I have n number of modules. Like this, we create n number of modules. I'll put a view. We'll put a URLs. So like we can create a URL for that and map that URLs to project. How we are mapping that URLs to project? We are creating a URL for one app, and we are asking our main project to load that first using include. Where this include will present Django URLs import include. This import is very important. This import is very important. So you need to understand. Make a note of this thing, please. Make a note of this thing. Okay, make a note. Once you create a project, you can create an app. Once you create an app, you will not have URLs. You manually need to create a URL. Yes, you manually created a URL, or you can copy the project URL and keep there and call that particular map that particular app URL to project URLs. Then only it will load. Then only it will load. Otherwise, by default project it will load. Okay, project whatever is there. So just a Django homepage will be loading. So which will not be useful. Okay. So this is the one thing you need to understand. And If you see here, first of all, what we were discussing, yeah, we will map the URL. So now, in order to map those URLs, by default, if you want to map any function, okay, we can write that views in the function. Where we'll write that views in the function, saying that definition home request. Again, I said HTTP response is very very important, which will be present in HTTP library. You can go HTTP library, which will help us to talk to our client. What is our client? Nothing but a browser. The server to client. Server to client. Now, this particular information is done. Now, what is our motto? Our motto is to load a HTML page. Load a HTML page rather than a static content. We are loading a static content. We need a dynamic content. We need a dynamic content. We need a dynamic content. How I will do that dynamic content? For that, we need to use render. For that, we need to use render. So before writing a render, we need to have before using a render, we need to define. We need to define what do you say? HTML pages. HTML pages. For that, we need to specify. We are going to use. Okay, we are going to use templates. What is that? Templates. Templates. What do you mean by template? So all templates will be present in a some folder. So what is that template? We will see now. What is that actually template is? So if you observe here the template, we need to create a folder called templates where we will have all our HTML pages. So our HTML page we will create, we will write all our HTML, all our HTML. So now here we have hello, just a hello, and we want to write our own name. So we are using this, okay, we are using this curly braces. We may be using Angular. In Angular, we will be using this. Whoever knows Angular, this we will be familiar with that one. So what we are doing? We are mapping a name. We are mapping a name to that. That name will be dynamically given by our function. Our function. Our function. So in order to do that, what we will do? We will comment this and we will we'll call the home.html. Like we have defined a home.html, you don't worry about it. We created a one more folder called templates, one more folder called templates. Okay, how we will create? Just manually we'll go here and we'll create a template folder. We'll create a new folder. Okay, so that's why we will use Visual Studio Code. That will be very helpful for us. So that will be very helpful for us. So now we need to display. Okay, we need to understand. We need to understand. Yeah, the language here. Yeah. The agenda today, as per the agenda, so if you what is the agenda, so you import a multiple objects into HTML file into the Django framework and connecting to a database and create data via admin and a sample application like registration. So coming back to first, our project was Trello. Last week, what we saw is Trello. So in that Trello, we have destination fields. So now, if you go to our destination, registration, yes, yeah. This was our basic project which we were loading, and our destinations were Delhi, Bangalore, and Mumbai. Okay, this we are loading. Okay, of whom we are loading? That's a question. So now we have a model like where you say your name, description, and a price, and whether it is offered or not. Like offer is if you see here whether we have offer or not, special offer or not, we are displaying. So such cases we will. So that we are doing. So basically we have maximum to max 4 fields. So that's what we are doing. Right. So using this, what do you say? Destination. So now from this Django, I want to create a model into my database. I want to create a model into my database. So that is my agenda here. So how I will create? So now how I will create is the question. So now what do you see if you observe here? So now I have what do you say? I have a model here. I want to push it into database. So now we have a database like initially to push it into database. I need to change my database settings. I need to change my database settings. How will we change our database settings? Is via the settings.py. So can anyone see the settings here? Can anyone see the settings.py where we have in my site actually because that is our project in my site. Now in my site you need to tell us which chart you are going to configure. So we are saying we have a travel apps and we are going to configure travel so like, inside a traveler we'll have apps this one. Okay, so app.py is there inside a traveler. Yeah, app.py. We have mentioned the travel config guide and we have given a project name initially in last week. So the same travel config we need to register to our project. So that is our settings.py. The first step is that one. We have done that one and we need to configure the database. Now how we will configure the database? Yes, configuring the database. Yes. So now the configuring database, we know that we already have PostgreSQL. We have already used with the Pioneer PySoft, right? Psycop G2. The same Psycop G2 ledger you need to install in order to work with Django also. Because already we have installed, again we are familiar with the PostgreSQL. Yes, so we are using the PostgreSQL itself because it is an open source. I cannot use. So now if you see here, then, what is the database name we are going to use? Our database name will be test. So what is the username? Postgres. Password will be a Postgres one. And as we are doing it in locally in my data in my system, we are giving a local host. If we are connecting to any server IP, so you need to mention the server IP. So this is what the database configuration. Just that is the database configuration which we are going to mention. Other than this, nothing we are going to mention. Okay. So if you see here, Manish and Pratik has again joined here. So again, I have a short recall. Today, what we are going to do, please bear with me. Mano and the other team, Jyoti and Gaurav. Okay. So again, today's agenda is to import multiple objects via into HTML via Django. Okay, via Django. Via Django framework and connect to database and create a data via data DB admin via Django admin. Django admin. Yeah, Django admin. And we need to create a sample application like registration. So that is our agenda. So in order to see that, we need to have a model. We have already last week created the same model, and we are mentioning the model fields because in order to push that model into database using a Django framework. You don't need to be an SQL expert here. You need to be an expert in Django. First, if you know the Django, like if you don't want to be an expert, also if you know the Django framework and if you try to explore it, it will help you to create a table and all. So now, before going to that, okay. So if you see here, okay. Now what happens? So now this admin.py is also there, where you will register your model. Where you will register your model. So once we have set a settings.py in settings.py, what is our settings.py? Settings.py is our main project where we have in my site where we have the settings.py. In settings.py we have mentioned the database and which app we are going to configure. Which app we are going to configure that to travel with our configuration where we have mentioned inside the installed apps. Inside the installed apps. So now this is the step one, and step two is we need to mention our database username, password, host. Like host is if it is a server, we will mention a server. Again, once you create this, so the next step, what we are going to do. So the next step, what we are going to do is inside the Traveler, we need to mention as we need to work with admin of this Traveler. So now what we need to do, we need to mention I need to register the destination. Okay, it need to be registered. The destination it need to be registered here. Okay, and we need to load this. So now if you see here, what we will do here, we will say admin. So now if you see here, this Traveler how it will load, I will tell you. This Traveler how it will load, I will tell you. It will give you this one. So now what we will do, we will log out. So this will be the admin. What do you say? Admin. It will be automatically created. So now, in order to log in to the database, we need to create a super user. We need to create a super user. How will we create a super user is the next step we are going to do. So in order to log into this, okay, if I say home, it will ask you a username and password. So we have created a super user. So how we have created a super user? We have created a super user using our terminal. So now it is we need to say to create a super user here. So if you observe here, so Python manage create super user. So now, so what are the steps? We have already configured the. So shall we write the steps? Yeah, so that it will be better. So first, what we have done, we have declared what is that model? Yeah, we call the model, and declare model with model fields. Model fields. Model fields. So for model fields, we can check the documentation. Check the documentation. So we say check documentation. Check the documentation. So second one. So second step. What is the second step we have done? So once we have done the declare the model, so now our aim is to import this model into a database. So how we will connect to the database? Like first of all, we import this model into a database. Now how we will connect? How, in order to do that, what we need to do? We need to register. We need to register in where we want to say. We need to register like first we need to configure. We need to configure. Then only we need to register. Configure what do you say app with project. So what we have done, what is the app? Traveler. Traveler was our app configured with what? Configured with my site. Configured with my site. Configured with my site. So third step. So what we have done now? DB configurations. DB configuration modifications. Here what we have done? Postgres SQL. Postgres SQL DB configurations we have mentioned. DB config. So what we have to whatever we have seen. Now next is to register your model with the app admin. App admin. So with the app admin. So now every app admin can register. Every app admin can register. Okay. So now let us consider we have another app, right? We have another app. So now what we will do? We will try to. We have created already a Traveler, right? We have another apps, right? What apps we have? We have demo one also, right? So in demo one, what we will do? In demo one, what we will do? We will create one model. So we will copy from our model. What is our model? What is our model? Our model is destination. So like that, we create another model. Say we will copy here. What is this? Demo one model. So rather than a destination, what we will say? We can say employee, not employee also. Every time employee. Yes. Vehicle. As an employee, I could have created a number of times. So I don't want image and this thing, so I want a text description, price itself. Okay, price itself is enough. And let us do one mistake. What is that mistake? This is not our mistake. I'm doing a mistake wanted. Okay, I'm doing a mistake wanted. So, so now, what happened? So in our step one, what we have done? We have declared a model. So we have to configure the app with project. Now what we have to configure? We have to configure our what? So what is our admin.py? Like what we have done in Travelo? In Travelo, what we have done? We have mentioned in so from models we have imported the model and we have registered right in admin.py. So now same in admin.py. Same admin.py of this one. What we need to do? We need to also register our app. What is our model? What is our model? So I am doing the third step. Second step we will do here. So you see here what is the model here? What is our model? Vehicle, right?
The vehicle.
So this will be our vehicle. Yeah, vehicle registration. So now what we need to do? Now what we need to do? What else we need to do? Hmm? Second step. Second step. What we have done? We have done a registration. We have done a registration of what?
Our app.
Our app. Where we have done? We have done that registration in our installed apps. So like demo, like we have a config also, right? So we need to define a config to our demo one, right? We are doing in demo one, right? Yes, in demo one, yes, we are doing in demo one. So now what we need to do? Like this configuration in apps.py, whether the configuration is defined or not. So we will check. Okay. In app.py, whether we have configuration declared or not. Yes, we have declared a configuration, which is called a demo one.
Demo.
Which is called demo one. Okay. So now is both one and same. Both one and same. Can we check? Both are one and same. Yes, both are one and same. So now the configuration has been now, but though the configuration has done, we need to register it. Where we need to register it? In our settings.py using a demo config, demo one config. Yeah. Right. So now what we need to do? We need to mention what we need to say demo one dot app dot config. Okay, config and we need to mention this. Right. So now what we have done, we have done a demo one configuration. Okay, demo one configuration. We have registered successfully. So now we need to create a super user.
DB configuration also.
Now, if you want by default, like you want a username, yes, you can choose a username. DB configuration is already done for that app, right? We are doing another app now. Okay, DB configuration is already
Okay.
done. Okay. So
Okay.
now we have already taken this one. So now we will take Manish as a super user. So Manish great python.com. The password. So password is 123. So again password 123. So password is 2 short. By password validation, create user anyway. Yes, we will say yes. I don't want to take much about it. Yes. So now the super user has been created successfully. So now if you see by defaultly the super user will be created successfully. Now we will go and we can log in with the what was the username we have given? Manish. Okay. What is the username we have given? Manish. And what is the password? 12. This token is missing. Current post need to install. Add install. Yeah. So now if you see here, automatically previously destinations was only there. Now if you see here, what happened? It has created vehicles. Now if you go inside the vehicle, I want to add vehicles. Okay. Yes, I can say what. So now we have created a vehicle, right? So now shall we go and see in our database whether the vehicle object has been created or not? Okay. So now, previous to this, only these tables were there. I will show you how this table is also came in the picture. Hmm. Okay, sorry. Now, before going to that, it is not created. So now, just only in admin, this one has been created. Now we need to what we need to do? Now we need to save this. Save this. Then only the it will be created. So now we will see. mm, Uh, no, fine. Now, in order to do this, the create. So now, if you see here, what happens inside the uh, them. Now, inside the demo, if you see now, still now there is only a migrations package is there. So now what we need to do once the migration, once this is created, we need to migrate the, we need to migrate the, we need to create a migrations. So now if you see here, automatically a model has been created. Now if you say the mention, we have mentioned we need to migrate this from Django server to Django server. From the Django, we are creating a database. Now what we have done, we have registered a model and we have registered a model with app admin. Right, that is done. And then what we have done, then we have asked Django framework to make migration script. Make migration script. So now I have made a migration script. Inside the migration script, if you go and see, we have created a model called vehicle. Okay, initially, so demo dot migrate demo migrations. Initial py has been fed. So now what is the model? It is there. It is going to create. So it has been created. So now we have not touched anything. Just we have written a script. Just we have written a statement. Python make migration manage make migration. So now that this has been done. So now the next one. So now what we need to do? The migration has been done. Whether the table has been created? No. Only the migration script was ready. Now because now what we need to do? We need to come back here. So now, if you see here, we are going to do a SQL migration of what app, which app we need to say. My SQL migration. So we have a create now. We need to create one more script migration. So now we are going to create a table. How we are going to create a table? Which app it is demo one app? Which script it is 0001. So now, if you see here, what happens? Come this. So you have not touched any SQL database. You have not touched any SQL database, but the table has been created. Whether shall we go and check there? Shall we go and check? Yes, let us check inside our database. So initially it was not there. Now it should have been there. Okay, still it is not there. Still it is not there. Why? It has created a this one, but it is not done completely. So now we need to do, in order to do that, we need to give a just single line statement. That is the manage that migrate. So now the table will be created. So applying all, applying initial running the migrations. Now it has been created. So now if you go and here, yes, 12th one. What is the 12th one? Demo vehicle. And that's the demo. What was the columns we have? We had one. We have done one mistake also. You remember? We have done one mistake also. That also we'll see. That also we'll see. What is that mistake? Okay. What is the mistake? I told you we have done a mistake and we no. We had one more point, like one more value in our model. What was in one more module in our module? In our model, it was in our model we have done a price, but we had forgot to give what you say. Yeah. Okay, it will end in 10 minutes. Please rejoin again. Yeah, Pratik.
I didn't understand this migrate and migration part. Like, what does it exactly do?
It is create now. See now, what is doing is you have created a model. Okay, as a front end person, like what you say, as a front end person, you have created a model, and you want to create the same model in the same table into the database. Push the same model into the database. You don't want to, you don't know SQL. Okay, you don't know SQL, and you want to create these models into exactly same models, and you start working. Okay, so in that case, it will help. It will be helpful. So now we have done a simple mistake here, like closing the braces. So now this again we need to remigrate. Okay. So now what we will do? We don't want to do much here. Again we say migrate. So what will happen? This will apply all the like we have done the changes that are not reflected on be applied, running all the no migrations to apply, but we'll see whether the has been created or not. Has not created. Okay. Even the manage, make, run manage, make migrations. Okay. Make migrations. Yeah. So now we will provide one of default now with the existing rows on the column. Yeah. And we say just the default value. We say one. Yes. So added a field price to vehicle. So now previously price was not there. Now what happened? So now if you see here what happened, it created one more this one more added a field. It is adding one more additional field. It is only creating the field. Just you want to know what to run and when to run. That's it. And then you do a migration of this. What will happen? Automatically the column has been added to the data. So now if you forget to add a column, so even that also we can do. So you don't want to worry. Let us say you have in a hurry, you have not declared the model properly. Again, you can recreate and rerun the models n number of times. So just that is the basic thing we are going to. So now what we have done. So now we will see in the notepad what we have done. So Python dot manage py dot make migration. So now what it will do? It will create a migration script. Migration script. What migration script? Still not create script. We create a migration script of model script. Migration model script. Now in order to create our SQL script, what is this one? So we have created one more, right? What was that? Yes, SQL migrate app name and what is the migration script name? What is the model migration script name? So now if you see here, what happens? Python manage py SQL migrate. Yes, manage dot py SQL migrate. Okay, SQL migrate. What are the SQL migrate and which is the app name? Like the demo one is an app name, and what is the model migration script? That one. So this will create a SQL. This will not create the table. It will creates SQL script. Okay, creates SQL script. Now it will create only your SQL script. Okay. Now we are going to create a table using a using a both above scripts. Okay, what we have, so manage dot py and migrate. So this one will be the final one. So before running this, we need to make sure we have a SQL script ready and model script is ready. So now we have a model, right? We have a model. We configure it with the app. We have changed the DB configurations and register the model with the app. Okay, register model with the app, and we managed to create the model script, and we managed to create model with the model script. We managed to create a SQL script. With that SQL script, we are going to create a table. Now this will create you a table. This will create a table. Now you want to insert the data. Let us consider you want to insert the data. Now I will go to admin. Now I went to admin. So let us come to demo one. Yes, we have come to demo one. Now if you see here, what happens? No vehicles are there. We say this admin is given by Django. Okay, this admin is given by Django because to create from administration side you want to create. That is the case. Okay. Now I will say data. Okay. Indian vehicle. Indian vehicle. What is the price? So let us say 25 lakhs. Okay, is there an offer? Yes, we'll say it is an offer. So save and save, add another. So what is add another one? So now Tata has done. Now we will say Hyundai. Like we say, okay, what do you say? Non-Indian product. Say non-Indian product as 30 lakhs. Okay, there is the answer. Now we will say save. So now the two objects has been created. What were the two objects? One is the Tata, one is the Hyundai. So we have not interfered anything here. Automatically the data has been used. Have you interfered here? No, you have not interfered here. And you have created a super user also, right? So that super user also will be created in the users, like auth users. So now if you open and see the database, okay. So now if you see that Manish and Python, I Manish at the red Python is a super user. Yes, he is a super user. Okay, and is a staff. So like that, we have created the models. We have created the models and kept. We have created the super users. We can create a super user of the admin also, of the admin app. So how we load admin app? Yes. So we know that once the configuration is done, how we will also where we can load in 2 minutes. The session will restart. Please join again. Once we register the model with the admin app, we will be able to load the admin app. We'll be able to load admin app. Load admin app, right? So we have seen this. Okay. So now, what is our next point? Next point is we have created this one and we have created the models, right? Now, like that, we have created what do you say? So many destinations also. The same way we have created this one, we have created so many destinations also. Okay, this and all is the text. Don't worry. We have created the same way the destinations also. How we have created the vehicles, the same way we have created the destinations also. Now, after this restart of this session, what we are going to do see is how we will fetch this data into previously we are also fetching the data from Python database connections, right? So now also how we will fetch this data into a HTML page. Into a HTML page is the question. So now that is the task, a very very important task where we are going to see, and we will see how we will load. Okay, what and all it takes to load, where we need to change. Okay. And anyway, we have like I have a question. How we will connect this model? How we will connect this model? Do you have an answer? So how we will connect this model to our table? Who is connecting? How we are connecting?
Views.
Mm-hmm.
View.
Very good. Yes, super. Views is connecting. Super. So views is connecting. So now this views came into picture. Now let us consider there is a view. Okay, there is a view. What is a view? How does the view connected to a model? View connected to a model? Yes, we have imported the models here. Okay, we have a model and we have imported the model here, and we have a index.html where it will load. Okay, where it will load. It will take all the objects. Okay, it is going to disconnect. Please once you